Tracy, what are some of the challenges when it comes to young care leavers or ex-offenders with regards to employability?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So one of the main key things around care leavers and ex-offenders is the lack of experience and also having relevant qualifications in order to compete in a market that's quite overflooded with young people applying for jobs. So those are the sort of challenges that young people and care leavers experience because they're not able to compete as much with other young people who have come out of university or college and school with GCSEs or relevant qualifications. That's not always necessarily the case, but that is one of the challenges. Another challenge is experience, or work experience, and being able to sort of gain access to employment sort of opportunities where they can kind of learn that hands-on practical experience on the job. Often that's not accessible for care leavers or ex-offenders. Another challenge is in particular for ex-offenders is obviously having criminal records. So that might exclude them from particular job opportunities that might be working with vulnerable adults or working with vulnerable young people. They might be excluded from those sort of professions, and also they might be excluded based on their sort of criminal record offences.
That's very interesting. And I suppose for employers, there's a lot of solutions or interventions that can happen. But in your opinion, what do you think employers can do to give young care leavers and ex-offenders a fair chance at employment?
There's lots of, different opportunities that, employees could consider as an option, especially for care leavers and ex-offenders. So, giving them the chance to, gain some sort of employment and some work experience, and that could be voluntary. We've got lots of sort of industries, we've got the STEM industry, which is, a really kind of a thriving industry. And I think if ex-offenders and young people and care leavers are given those opportunities just to see what those sort of industries are like and whether or not that's something that they would consider as a career. And I think if those opportunities are available, then and they're able to look past some of their past sort of mistakes and sort of behaviours, then that's something that potentially, they could be given that opportunity just like everybody else in order to sort of, consider a career that they probably wouldn't, ordinarily consider because of the path that they have taken, or in some, in care leavers' circumstances, maybe that's not something that they chose, but that's the circumstance that they found themselves in. So I think we've got to be a little bit more open-minded in relation to young people who are leaving care, young people who are have got some criminal records. We have to sort of consider that actually they have some sort of life experience that they'll be able to contribute towards, any job opportunity that comes their way.
So in terms of a practical step for an employer that's considering reaching out to this group of people and they genuinely want to embed that into an EDI initiative, what can they actually do? What are the practical steps they need to take?
Okay, so one of the, I work for a voluntary organisation, so I work for Circles, and we recruit and train volunteers to work with our young people. And so one of the things that I think is really, really important is about your contribution to the community and giving back to your community and your society. It's about having that purpose and making a difference. I think is really important part of anybody's life is to contribute. So I think if we've, know, we've got quite big corporations all around globally, but if we're talking in the UK in particular, there's some really big corporations that could make a real contribution to voluntary sectors like, you know, like my voluntary sector that I work within, charity that I work within, but there's lots of other charities that they could also contribute to. And with that, if we've got professionals working with young people and you know, and they're able to represent a sort of a role model to those young people, even ex-offenders as well, and to show them there's a possibilities for them to then strive to sort of perhaps look at other job opportunities, because often what happens is that, you know, ex-offenders or care leavers, they, you know, think about very small in terms of their attainment, and actually if they have some sort of role models, I think that would make a real positive contribution. And how they can do that is, there's lots, you know, there's Do It org, which is a volunteering website. There's lots of volunteering opportunities on there. So, you know, people can have a look and see what opportunities are available. So that's one element. The other element is, you know, as I said about big corporations, or even just any sort of company, larger companies that, you know, work in different industries, whether that's IT, whether that's social care, whether that's, you know, construction, that they could consider looking at how they can then support leaving carers, or how they can support ex-offenders or young people in particular. We know that, you know, unemployment rates among young people, as it stands now, is you know, really, really high, and we've got to kind of consider why is that, and that's even for young people who are coming out of university with, you know, first-class degrees. So we have to start really thinking about how can we consider inclusion and equality for young people who are going to be our future, who are there to sort of, you know, pave the way for, you know, the other next generations that are coming up. So we have a responsibility as professionals as well to sort of consider, you know, how we can make a contribution to that as well.
Great, thank you. So essentially everyone can make a difference to this group, but I suppose you tailor it to your organisation and the capabilities you have. Thanks, Tracy.